That's the first 2 years of a 4-year degree, right? And we transfer to the university, so it just doesn't make sense not to give us a chance on that. But even farther, they're better than that, or at least as good as that. You don't have to get, I'm a bad president. I don't think everybody needs a 4-year degree. My dad, before he passed away, would say I had more degrees than a thermometer. So he knew I had a lot of degrees. You don't necessarily need that. We have programs such as our electric lineman program, and it's a model for the state. And in it, you can literally go 16 weeks, one semester. And if you complete the program, you're almost guaranteed. The last 5 years, we have had 100% higher rate out of this program. 16 weeks, one semester of debt. Duke underwrites a lot of these students, so there's no debt. The average starting salary at the end of that, $50,000. Compare that to a teacher, and there's teachers all in my family. God bless teachers, we need them all. But compare that to a teacher who may have to go 6 years to finish a 4-year degree because they have family and jobs and everything else. They're borrowing to go. In North Carolina, the average teacher or the average education student leaves the 4-year school with a $42,000 debt. The starting salary for teachers in North Carolina, $34,000. So we need them, and God bless every one of them that go into the teaching field or many others. But what we're trying to get the message out very loudly and clearly is you don't have to be a career student to do well. We have an incredible nursing program. We want anyone that wants to go on to a 4-year to come to us first. We're working with North Carolina Wesleyan to actually make a funnel, a pathway where we can get the difference in us and Wesleyan is cost. Well, we want, working with Dr. Duff there, the president of Wesleyan, to figure out a program where we send students into us with a pathway out through Wesleyan. My goal there, I'm kind of selfish, I like Nash County. If we send students away, I left home, I never went back. Because it was a small town, I ended up in North Carolina. If we can keep students here and educate them, we're much more likely to keep them here and to stay here and build families and do everything else. So we're really proactive about working with all universities, but certainly with North Carolina Wesleyan, because it's obviously in Nash County, right in our backyard. Some of the other things on this sheet just give you some other highlights of what we do offer. But again, I think, I would like y'all to help me spread the word in any way that we can, that it's a great option for anyone, whether you want to do short-term training all the way up to go on to UNC later on, for state. I don't want to make anybody mad here, so UNC or state. Wherever else you want to go. But again, I am at y'all's disposal. My question to the whole group would be, what can we do to better serve Spring Hope? And that's putting you on the spot right now. If there's nothing right now and you think of something later, I'm easy to get a hold of. It is right there. I will tell you one of the things we're going to start doing. I'm an outsider, so I came from Texas via Georgia to here. But the reason I like that is I can kind of look around and see things a little differently. I think as a college, we've become kind of campus-centric, which means we want you coming to us all the time. I don't think we ought to do that. I think we ought to come to you more. And so we're looking at certainly adult basic education classes, high school equivalency testing, things like that, where we come out here, we come to Spring Hope or Momire or wherever it might be, and we set up in storefronts or at a church or wherever it might be and offer classes where students are at. One of the largest barriers to education we have in the South, everywhere, is getting to and from a campus consistently. Our students have, even the barrier, the 7 miles between my campus and downtown Rocky Mount is a barrier to education. We're going to solve that. We're going to start going out more and meeting students where they are. So as you move forward, if y'all think of something we can do for Spring Hope, we want to hear about it, because we have the personnel. We have a dedicated group, 567 dedicated people that want to make Nash County better. So with that said, I would answer any questions and then get out of y'all's hair. But I appreciate y'all giving me the time to just come introduce myself. Again, pre-COVID, I would have been here a lot earlier. I'm in my 17th month. So I missed the honeymoon period with COVID, so hopefully I'll get another honeymoon period when it's over. But any questions I can answer for y'all?
Anyone?
This is a wonderful facility, by the way. When did it open?
5 years? Yeah. 2008.
Oh gosh, is it that well? It's wonderful. That's something to be proud of. Well, very good. Well, I'll get out of y'all's hair then, if that's all right.
Thank you for coming.
Thank y'all very much. Enjoyed it.
Next item on the public comment is Mr. John Clark.
Hello. I came here today to, don't mind, I can talk through this, to give you an update on my building. As you're all very well aware, 205 West Main Street collapsed on November 5th. It was tragic, it was unfortunate. I did everything I could to start cleaning it up. Some events occurred between me and some of my neighbors, and it caused me to stop until I could get an engineer's report. I got an engineer's report that stated that I could clean up the side courtyard and the roof. It was not accepted by Kay Mitchell and members of Faith Christian Ministry. They wanted the entire building torn down. That's not acceptable to me. I waited until I got the physical report. I contacted a forensic engineer to look at why the building collapsed, and he seemed to think there was a rainwater runoff from the roof of Faith Christian Ministry that dumps directly onto the walls of my building. So in order to not destroy any evidence, I've done nothing while he's investigated that. As of this past week, he's given me permission to begin to remove the bricks and the roof structure so that he can continue his investigation of the footings. Having said that, I've purchased scaffolding and rented a Bobcat, and we'll begin next weekend with the cleanup. And we'll get that part cleaned up as quickly as I can. If you've got any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer it.
Anybody on the board have any questions for Mr. Clark? Thank you, sir. Next, Mrs. Richardson will be speaking on behalf of Faith Christian Ministries.
Yes, my name is Jodelle Richardson, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Okay, I'm the president of Faith Christian Ministries, and we're an organization of Spring Hope area churches. We were formed to assist the needed in this area. The churches include Clifton Chapter, First Baptist of Spring Hope, Gibson Memorial, White Oak, Peachtree, Ephesus, Olive Grove, and Stanhope. We have tried to use our mission to help people in the area of the town of Spring Hope. We have used our store to profit to support the utilities, medical, education, and clothing needs of the residents. Nearly half of the households in Spring Hope earns below $25,000, as this was stated in 2013. These people need help in our service and our low-cost clothing and household goods. We cannot help them if we're closed. Since 2012, we have provided approximately 70,000 spent in food assistance and nearly 50,000 spent on financial assistance for utilities, rents, medical, for elderly, and families with children. All that ended on November the 5th, 2020, when our adjoining property collapsed and bricks and debris fell through the roof of our retail store, which is rented from the business family. Along with the falling of the wall on our rental location, and the falling bricks destroyed the roof and part of our property that we had renovated and was renting to other businesses, Bubbles and Bowls and the beauty shop. This tragedy, that under normal circumstances we could have handled with support from our insurance company, volunteer workers, and contractors. We should be well on our way to cleaning up and starting the renovation. Unfortunately, what has happened has not followed our expectations. We are frustrated at the lack of action from our neighbor, the adjoining property owner, who is responsible for the wall collapse and who has not cooperated in aspects to the steps needed to facilitate the cleanup in our town as well, that told us to evacuate the property until it is cleaned up. Right. Let me give you a few highlights, and I have some copies that I'd like to, Ms. Katie, pass out if you will, if that's okay, of our journey. This is the highlights of our journey as we try to resolve the problem. I promise I try not to take too long, just a few minutes. On November the 5th of last year, the eastern wall of the roof of 205 Main Street collapsed, and bricks knocked holes in the roof and crushed the roof after rafters of 106 Ash Street retail store owned by the Visit family and 203 Main Street property owned by Faith Christian Ministries and rented to Bubbles and Bowls. On November the 13th of last year, the town of Spring Hope sent certified letters to Faith Christian Ministries and the Visit Investment stating that the damaged property must be vacated and repairs are not advised until the remaining parts of the wall, the roof, and facade of 205 West Main Street is completely demolished. Again, the adjoining property has done nothing. Property owner has done nothing to remove the wall. We propose to simply push the wall off our building. We're not asking to tear it down. We just want him to remove his wall. That's all we want. Off our building and put the rubble onto his property. After I spoke on December meeting in December of last year, we arranged a meeting on December 23rd with the town representatives, Mr. Clark and Faith Christian Ministries. We left that meeting thinking everything was worked out. That lasted less than 2 days when Faith Christian Ministry notified Mr. Clark that our insurance carrier would cover debris removal as outlined in the town's certified letter and could not include any cost for reinforcing any position of the walls at 205 West Main Street. Our insurance carrier expected a detailed plan with the proper permitting the work done by a licensed vendor or a contractor only. We could not just give Mr. Clark the money. Mr. Clark's response by email stated, Farm Bureau, Faith Christian Ministries, nor the town of Spring Hope is going to dictate the unnecessary demolition of a salvageable section of the building. Let it be noted that Farm Bureau is our insurance carrier. No mention has been made for Mr. Clark having any part of liability or property insurance. On January 15th, 2021, our attorney sent Town Manager J. Kim a letter requesting information on 205 West Street and why condemnation of our appropriate action had not been taken place since the collapse of the wall and the roof. We asked for a meeting with the town to address the situation. No meeting was arranged. On January 26th, our attorney again reached out to J. Kim, stating that the town may be civilly liable for its failure to act against an responsible building owner. He quoted several of Spring Hope's codes and ordinance was as related to the building code violation and penalties. Later that same day, our attorney received an email from Mayor Watley to refer all correspondence and all emails to Spring Hope attorney, Mark Ellis, and that Faith Christian members were to stop calling the town manager. Since nothing happened after those letters, on February 18th, 2021, Our attorney reached out to the town attorney, Mark Ellis, asking that the town lift the vacate order on the building on 203 West Main Street, Bubbles and Bowls, that's the building. And if necessary, Faith Christian Ministry would agree to demolish a portion of that building that the wall from 205 was leaning on. This request was made so the renovation could begin. To this date, we have received no response. On March the 17th, 2021, Dane Proctor, Faith Christian Minister, structural engineer, sent a letter stating that 203 West Main Street was structurally sound and suited for restoring and renovation. However, construction activities should not be allowed in or around your building until the collapse has been removed. He stated that the collapsed material should be safely handled through a qualified demolition contractor. This report was sent to the town the following day through Mark Ellis, town attorney. He was asked to expedite lifting the vacate order and to provide information on what Faith Christian Ministry needed to do to work with the town to begin renovation. Again, we received no response. Our attorney contacted Mark Edwards again on March the 22nd, making a similar request. We got no response. Today, we are still waiting for a response. We have been waiting for 5 months. We simply do not understand why, rather than expedite the process, the town appears to be dragging its feet. We think that if your property had sustained damage from a neighbor and the town had placed a vacate order on your property since November of last year, you would not be happy. We think the town would do more than serve your neighbor a certified letter telling them that they had 14 days to submit a plan and then let it drag on for 5 months. Faith Christian Ministries was formed to provide charitable service to the needy who have nowhere else to turn to. We have provided assistance to hundreds of those in need. Our thrift store provides essential financing for our mission. We have tried to be a responsible business in the Spring Hill area. We need the town to help us so that we can help those in need. We did not cause this problem and really don't understand the delay. Please lift the vacate order immediately and instruct the town manager to cooperate with the county and to expedite the appropriate county permitting the beginning of immediate repairs of our building. Our mission depends on your cooperation. We say to each of you who represents the town, if you can send us a certified letter telling us to vacate and telling our neighbors to demolish 5 months ago, then please follow up and live up to your codes and policies. Do the right thing and enforce your codes and policies. End the problem tonight, please. Make a decision that allows us to begin to clean up in our renovation. Thank you for your attention and your time.
Mr. Edwards, would you like to respond?
Yes, I think you understand the town's requirement is that you can get back in the building when you provide the town with an engineer's report stating it's safe to enter the building. Do you understand that?
We did.
Okay, and then what you just read to us tonight stated that your engineer says that the building is not safe to enter. Isn't that correct?
No.
Okay, would you read read the second?
You have a copy of the letter?
Yes, and if you read the second letter of the second sentence of the second paragraph of his report, if you could read that.
The board has a
Just if
copy
she could
of
read the
letter.
second sentence of the second paragraph. However,
We were forced to hire.
If she could just read that sentence.
Oh, what I
This,
just read.
if you got, it's a 2-paragraph letter, correct?
I don't know what to refer
I
to.
don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, I'll read it. Well, you read it earlier tonight, just before me.
I read it.
It says, however, construction activities should not be allowed in or around your building until the collapse has been removed. So your engineer gave to the town a letter from your engineer stating that it was still unsafe. And as we stated in the December 23rd meeting, and have stated subsequently to your attorney, the town's position is we will lift the vacate order when we have a letter from your engineer stating it's safe to enter the building.
I have to dispute that. We have a letter here from Wild and Blue Engineering Company, Daniel Proctor.
I just
He
read from
said
that letter.
In
It
his
says,
professional opinion, that your building located at 203 West Main Street is structurally sound and is suited for restoration or renovation.
and read the
However,
second sentence of the second
construction
letter.
activities should not be allowed in or around your
Yes.
building until the collapse has been removed.
Exactly.
The collapse has left unstable materials, unbraced walls, rubble, and debris which are at risk of further collapse.
Correct.
Removal of this material should be safely handled through a qualified demolition contractor,
Yes.
not a
And
person.
And when y'all work that out, we will be glad to lift the vacate order.
You're glad to lift it now?
No, when you provide to the town a letter from an engineer stating your building is safe, we will lift the vacate order.
I have it right here.
Read the second sentence of the second paragraph. Construction activities should not be allowed in or around your building until the collapse has been removed.
And
That's,
you refer to your vacate order, you ordered Mr. John Clark to demolish that wall in 14 days to give an answer.
and if your attorney will call me tomorrow, I'll be glad to talk to him about it.
We need the vacate order lifted. And Mr. Clark said he's ready to do some work. That's fine, but if his building falls again on our building, then what?
Then that's why we have a vacate order to keep it safe. We need an
So you're not
engineer,
gonna lift it for him either?
we need work done out there. Y'all need to work it out among yourselves. When the work is completed and the building is safe, you will be able to get back in the building.
Our building is
Our
safe.
building
But as you just mentioned, just there, and that you just said, you're threatening action against the town if that building were to fall. So we have to be responsible and not let anybody go out there until y'all work it out and make it safe out
I
there.
didn't say that. I said what would happen.
Exactly.
If it collapsed on our building again.
That's why we need a letter from an
Mr. John
engineer.
Clark was given a letter by the Bissett boys a long time ago saying that that building was not stable, the walls would bowed out and were subject to, if there was an event of wind, that the building would fall, and it did.
So what do we need to do, sir? We need to
We
do
need to
what
work it
now?
out with Mr. Clark.
We can't let Mr. Clark do the work.
You need to speak to your
He's not
attorney.
qualified.
Well, however y'all want to resolve it, amicably or not amicably, that's between y'all. And the town, as we met on December 23rd, the mayor hosted a meeting to mediate between you. As you said, when we walked out of that meeting on the 23rd, y'all seem to be on the same page. If y'all aren't on the same page together today, that's unfortunate, but that's not the town's responsibility. Y'all have to work that out among yourselves. We'll be glad to mediate. We'll be glad to communicate. If you need to send anything to the town, so the town can send it to Mr. Clark, we'll be glad to do that. But all we're doing is facilitating communication. We're not taking any action. And when we get a letter from an engineer that states it's safe out there, we'll lift the vacate order.
Does the vacate order apply to him and his building?
Yes. He cannot do business.
Then he cannot go and do those repairs he's talking about, because you have.
He has a letter from his engineer, and as long as he follows the letter from his engineer, he can go out there and remove the debris.
We just want him to get out of our way so we can repair our building. Our farm bureau had a claim that's been satisfied, and we want to get back in service to benefit the town of Spring Hope.
I think we're all sympathetic to that.
As the end of the public comment, the first item of business for the town board tonight is the budget ordinance amendment 2021-03, police vehicle and insurance.
We're just making some financial lines, again, for the insurance received for the damaged police car.
I will need a motion and a second for this budget ordinance amendment.
Make a motion to approve budget ordinance amendments 2021-03.
Second.
Okay, a second, a second. I have a motion and a second to approve budget ordinance amendment 2021-03. If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. That motion passes. Next item we have on our agenda is the letter of support for the DOT for the future I-87 project. Now,
It's a similar request from last year. They were not awarded the project, so they have made some changes to the project, but in the grand scheme of things, it still is a project on 64/17 on the future I-87.
we'll need a motion and a second for this letter to the U.S. Secretary of Transportation.
Make a motion that town of Spring Grove support this this project by sending the letter of support signed by the mayor.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve signing the letter of support for the NCDOT for the future I-87 project. If there is no more discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes. Next item I have on the agenda is a public hearing for 2021 ZTA01, the Code of Ordinance Amendment to regulate golf carts. I'll need a motion and a second to go into public hearing.
I'll make a motion, we go into public hearing.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second to go into public hearing. If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. We are now in public hearings. Mr. Kim, I'll let you start us off with that.
Sure. Again, this is application 2021 ZTA01, an introduction of a golf cart ordinance, including the registration and waiver of liability. As you all are well aware, the regulation of golf carts has come before the board in the past for consideration whether this is something that the town had to take action, and it did. Again, as a town-sponsored application. You have before you a copy of the draft ordinance that has gone before this board and also the planning board. Again, starting with Chapter 20, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 8, Golf Carts. And again, we have incorporated the application and the waiver, this liability disclaimer to the ordinance. If there's any questions, again, one change that we did make was that the fee for the application would be $5 annually.
Is anybody from the public that wishes to comment on the golf cart ordinance?
We did have one phone call, anonymous, for a resident, I believe, that lives off of one of the apartment complexes off of Branch Street, at the end of Branch Street. And her concern was that of the carts coming through their facility, I believe, in their driveways and such. But again, that's a private facility. These the regulations for this golf cart ordinance is for town public streets. So if there is concerns about people that would potentially, if this does get approved, of folks riding their carts, they could obviously contact the police department for those questions and concerns about those uses within their private facility.
Anybody else from the public? We have no public comment. I'll entertain a motion to go back into open session.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go back into open session. If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes. The Next item will be consider on action on 2021 ZTA 01, the Code of Ordinance Amendment to regulate golf carts.
And if you look at the staff report on the back with recommendations and suggestion motions, you have 3 motions there, and highlighted in red were the comments and the justifications from the planning board.
So I would make a motion that 2021-ZTA-01 is not inconsistent with comprehensive plans that have been adopted by the town of Spring Hope.
Do I have a second?
Second.
If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. On motion 2, would somebody like to make a motion?
Make a motion that 2021-ZTA-01 is reasonable and in the public, in the public interest.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second on motion 2. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion passes. Do I have
Motion. We need a
motion 3? We need to make third motion.
Motion 3, the Board of Commissioners does approve the following amendments to the Town of Spring Hope Code of Ordinances. Amend Chapter 20, Article 8, Sections 20-240 to 20-240.9.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion in favor of amending Code of Ordinances. If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The motion passes. The next item we have on our agenda is consider action on the Downtown Development Board's proposal for RFP for town-owned buildings and redevelopment.
This request comes before the board from the Downtown Development Board. They have been working on this many months. Again, part of this process of the revitalization of bringing buildings hopefully into compliance with restoration was part of the adopted downtown revitalization plan. The 2 buildings that the town owns are 119 and 121 South Ash Street. Again, these 2 buildings were donated to the town in the past. They both would need some significant repairs invested into the buildings, one more so than the other, but still both considerably. And again, the DDB approved last month to send an RFP for requests for plans and proposals for the redevelopment of both of these buildings. Again, I wanted to highlight from the RFP request that there are some certain criteria in the selection process. The evaluation would be looking at the project use, the design plans, suitability, project feasibility, the economic benefits to the town, local businesses and citizens, and also the development team and qualifications and ability to perform these. Again, the Downtown Development Board and the town staff would make final recommendations to the town board, but also want to make note that the town is not obligated to accept any of the proposals. If they don't meet to our standards, we could at some point later down the road send out another RFP request until we find a suitable plan to potentially move forward with the sale of those 2 buildings. And again, you have a bit of a timeline presented within your RFP. An example would be the public notice. An RFP would be available potentially by mid-April. And then we would have schedules for site visits and tours of the buildings. Period for questions regarding the RFP. responses to questions provided by the town. RFP closes potentially June 25th, 2021. The town potentially could select a developer by early August, and then potentially the execution of an agreement as early as September. And again, you have a copy not only of the RFP request, but you have a copy of the draft of the public notice that would go out. And also on the final page, you have a copy of the resolution to move forward with the request for proposals on the town-owned properties. Again, if the town board does approve the RFP and sending this out, the decision on the final sale of the buildings would still come back before the board.
Does anyone have any questions? I have one for the attorney. To make him work tonight. On the page before, I don't know, right before the submission procedure, it says the town will also establish a clawback provision in any purchase or sale agreement.
Yes.
Is that proper and possible?
My associate is researching that. We think it is, but I won't opine on that for sure until we finalize. If I decide it can't happen, then it just won't be part of the final agreement. I mean, the alternative would be that if the developer failed to perform under their agreement, the town would have the right to sue them for their failure and their breach of the contract. So the town would have a remedy, even if this remedy isn't possible.
It's just my question, that we're not going to end up selling these properties for a low price and somebody has the opportunity to sit on them for 5, 10, 20 years.
Right.
On a low cost investment.
And even with the clawback provision, it's not as though you can just snap your fingers and you got the property back. It would still be a procedure, and it wouldn't be quick and easy to get it back, even with the language in there. I mean, just when you enter into a contract with somebody, it can state explicitly you have all these rights, but if they don't agree, you're still going to have to use the judicial system to exercise your rights. And so I would be saying, even if you were asking this question, if it came down to it and we were presenting to you a final proposal to sell the property and it had a clawback provision in there, I'd say that to you then, that even though it's in there, if they do not fulfill their part of the contract that they are in breach, it's still not going to be a quick and easy fix to get it back.
Being that this wouldn't happen until the fall, I'm assuming, you should be able to get us an answer back
Yes.
well before any of this.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's one of those things, the research I've done so far, I do not see anything that prevents it, but I want to look a little bit more before I say for sure.
Mr. Manager, do you need, I guess you need an okay from the board to proceed?
Yes, the resolution there would be the okay to proceed with this process, yes.
I will need a motion to allow the Downtown Development Board and the manager to proceed with the RFP.
I'll make a motion that we proceed with the, allow the manager and the DDB to proceed with the proposal for an RFP.
Second.
Who was second? Commissioner Griffin, you're closer. I'm right sure. I have a motion and a second to approve the Downtown Development Board and the manager to proceed with the RFP for the downtown-owned buildings. If there is no more discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the Chamber of Commerce update.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, good to see you. Spring has sprung. I don't know if you noticed, there's pollen flying everywhere. So With the spring, oftentimes in the chamber, the Queen's Spring Cleanup. So I'm going to yield my time over to Sylvia Williams. She's going to bring you up to speed on that initiative.
Thank you. I'm here on behalf of the Chamber and the Queens. Sarah Howell is our Miss Pumpkin Queen, and Annie Grace Manning is our Little Miss Pumpkin Queen. And they would love to be here tonight, but they cannot because of other obligations with school, and Sarah's grandmother is at the point of death. And but they are excited to get involved with this project that we have had before to make our town look better. The date for the event is set for Saturday, May the 8th, beginning at 7 a.m. in the morning. The cleanup includes the downtown to the city limits and entrances to town as the number of volunteers allows us to do. We will prepare flyers to advertise the event that we need for volunteers, as well as on social media. We will need some pickup trucks to haul the trash in different areas, and of course the drivers, and then teams to work with the truck in those different areas. Sarah and Anna Grace ask for your support and good graces to pass the word on any way that you can to help in this project. This cleanup idea was originated from our Little Miss Pumpkin Queen in 2016. Remember Taryn Rings and Sarah Dahl. They had hoped that this would become an annual event, and nothing much happened last year. One day when Taryn and her mom were coming into town, that's how it kind of originated. Taryn, being a little girl, 5 years old, was saying, Mom, look at all this trash. And she wanted, as a child, to do something about it, and that's how that started. So wouldn't it be nice if adults would be more respectful and clean up and think about before they put trash out? Then we would have a nicer look in town. But anyway, they are excited about doing this, and so we will have a more detailed plan later. And they would like to come back in May, which would be what day is your meeting? In May. It's before the cleanup. Right. And so to give you detail of what their accomplishments are at that point, that we will be working with them prior to that to get everything organized to see, and have the teams laid out and so forth, just so we can start working immediately. And maybe if we should take care of it by lunchtime or before. Any questions?
I do not believe so. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to consider action to hire a contractor to assist with code enforcement. Mr. Kim, would you like to start this?
So we've got the memo there. Attached with the memo is a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that ACE Alliance Code Enforcement had made at the Downtown Development Board and at the special call meeting. Again, the highlights of this part-time contract is for the services of 8 hours per week, 15-week period. I know on the contract it says on March 22nd, but that could be updated and changed as and stated as April 12th, 2021, as early as April 12th, 2021, or as decided between town staff and ACE. I would have to follow up with him to find out exactly when the exact starting date could be with the potential part-time code enforcement contractor. And again, the breakdown of the fee cost would be, again, a total of $3,000 at a discounted rate of $25 per hour. And again, if the board has any questions regarding the contract.
Within 8 hours a week?
Yes, and again, that could be obviously adjusted. I would be working with the contractor on that. We wouldn't strictly say 8 hours. Again, if certain weeks entailed additional work, I would basically keep track of the hours up to the point of the $3,000 spent for the remainder of, for the 15-week period.
Any more questions for the manager by the board? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we bring on the part-time code enforcement contractor with Alliance for the 15-week period of the test drive.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to enter the contract with Alliance Code Enforcement. If there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
Nay.
Motion passes. Next item I have on the agenda is the report from the town attorney.
I'll reserve my report to the closed session.
Next item I have on my agenda is a report from Environment. Are they here this evening? I did not see them. We'll move on to the report from the police chief.
The month of March, we had 4 reported incidents. As you can see, total calls for service were 163, 179 security checks, 51 vehicle stops, 3 vehicle accidents, and there were no street lights reported out.
Anybody have any questions for the chief from the board?
And the first concealed carry class went very well.
Thank you.
And we have enough for another one to start up. There'll be a date coming out soon.
Next item on tonight's agenda is the manager's report.
First item I have is the Downtown Development Board, the DDB update. Again, we're in the process of having smaller work sessions with the DDB. We've had one and we'll have a second one tomorrow evening. One of the topics that it has come up for discussion as a potential project is a mural project. And again, another thing that we're actually working on in the process of is the downtown showcase, where we would highlight certain buildings, commercial properties in our downtown area for potential lease or sale. And again, it would be a virtual showcase. But as for the murals, I attached with the packet there just kind of examples of other mural projects across the state. Example, you see one from Fuquay to Silva to Graham, Burgal, and the different types of funding sources. There was another attachment that wasn't included because it was almost 70 pages, but it talks about the different funding sources and grant opportunities. So again, it's a project that the DDB is very interested in working through, possibly being able to fund and move forward with the potential grant application. And again, you see attached with this also other examples of RFP in the Susquehanna Art Museum. And I believe there's another RFP that was from Jacksonville's Downtown Mural Program, as an example, just to show you all what other communities are doing. But again, this is at the early stages of the DDB working on the mural project, among other things that they're considering. And of course, one of the things once we break out from these work session groups is that we'll be looking for volunteers and folks who want to participate in some of these projects. At some point, we'll contact the media. We'll have some information on the town's website regarding those opportunities. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Okay. Second item I have is a quick ordinance update. You have a copy of a letter that was sent out. Again, this is in regards to the automotive repair businesses with the ordinance changes that was originally approved in August, but then we also had amendments to that in December of last year, but also an amortization clause which included a time period on when all of the auto repair businesses in town would have to come into compliance. And that would be 4 years from the date of the signing and approval of that amortization in December. And so again, copies were sent to all those businesses in town. All right. Next item is an update with the front office scheduling and staff. You've got a copy of the scheduling and assistance from the front desk. If there's any questions, showing coverage. Next section of the updates with staffing. I believe at some point in the past, maybe it was the last board meeting, has brought up asking about the duties and responsibilities for the administrative staff in Town Hall. There were no copies of the duties and responsibilities with the exception of the bullet point that you see there. What we did have was the town manager vacancy ad in the past, the sections within actually our code of ordinances for the town manager, town clerk, and finance officer, and also the part-time customer service billing clerk ad that we recently submitted last year, or I believe early this year, last year, for that part-time help. So you have, again, asked staff to provide copies of their written list of duties and responsibilities. I also included for my position the list of duties that, again, it doesn't seem like much, but it's something that's just covered within the general statute in most instances. And again, after doing research in many other municipalities, this was kind of a general consensus that I took from most of those that I created. And also attached after that a page, it's another page that we just didn't exist. Again, that would list all of the duties and responsibilities, typically something that you would find in a document in the process of hiring a town manager. So that's been created as well. And then finally, I have a copy of the quarterly report for this first quarter, January, February, March. The board had requested kind of the different activities that I've been working on. If there's any questions.
The board have any questions for the manager?
Yeah, Jay, on the job descriptions, I mean, that's good. I mean, you have to fill out the other stuff, and it was kind of, this is what I do. Is there a way we need a permanent record, almost like a scope of work? And I would recommend that get established. Because if there's some turnover or something like that happens, we need to be able to plug and play.
Right.
A daily, weekly, monthly, however you're going to break it down. This is kind of, obviously it looks like everybody's got a lot to do, right? But I would like to see it a little more defined so that it's duplicable to another staff, if something was to happen.
So you're asking about like a SOP, standard operating procedures per position kind of situation?
I think we need to do that. I mean, does that need to happen in the next month? No, but I think it's something, I recommend that we kind of get to that.
We do have some for some of the positions, and I'll try to get a list of all of the SOPs that we currently have, and if we are lacking, I'll follow up with the report on that.
And I'm assuming, Chief, on your side, you've got all that for your side? Yes. Yeah.
All right. Next, I have town facilities. Again, it was mentioned at a prior meeting, so we have contacted several roofing contractors. We are reaching out to Baker Roofing, and they should be scheduling something within the next several weeks, or at least telling us when they can put us on schedule for the next within the next time frame on the roof repair. So we have selected a contractor for that. And also just a quick update with the community building. We do have Wi-Fi and internet established there in case we have to have any future meetings there as well too. And next item I have is the 2021 City Vision Virtual Summit. Again, this is a summit, a virtual conference for best practice for municipalities and local government officials. If any of the board members are still interested in signing up, there is still time to register. Just let myself or either the town clerk know about your interest. And the next item is the American Rescue Plan update. You have a copy of a letter from the North Carolina League of Municipalities that's attached that was sent to the U.S. Department of Treasury. Again, it was asking and seeking guidance on the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. You also have a printout showing potentially what the town of Spring Hill could receive in 2 installments. The amount is for $380,000. Again, we are waiting to get additional information from the league and guidance on how it can be spent, what it can be spent on, and I will bring that information up to the board as soon as that becomes available. I do know that with the 2 installments, what we have received email-wise was that the U.S. Treasury has 60 days to distribute the first portion of the funds. After receiving the funds, the states then have an additional 30 days to distribute the funds to non-entitlement cities. And again, the second half of the estimated distribution will be received 12 months after the first. If there's any questions. I will update the board as soon as I have additional information on those guidelines. Okay, and then the next update I have is the Poplar Street well. Again, Kevin Barnell, town's engineer, has reached out to Sean Guire as of 3/29, asking for a response and updates from public water supply. We have not received a response yet. And it's not listed on here, but I did get this information today. As far as the 64,581 lights off the bypass, there is construction tentatively scheduled for the 21st of this month, and that Richard Whitaker with Duke Energy stated that he would be out staking the pole locations this week. So we finally have some movement and traction and actual dates on that. And then next item is the public nuisance and violation report. And again, this is for 101 South Poplar Street. And what you see highlighted in red and then that has been marked through is past updates. The most current update is at the very end, where Chief Yan and I have met in regards to the public nuisance that has been occurring with that building on occasions when the water pressure drops below a certain percentage. And the water is flushed out of the system. It creates a loud noise from their water suppression system because it's directly tied into the service line. I have followed up with the Borough Law Firm. I've contacted Nash County's Inspections Department, Fire Marshal's Office. They are having a interdepartmental discussion about joining the town and sending an administrative search warrant, and I do have the process to do that. So that is the discussion on how we'll have to proceed with this property as the building owner and property owner is being non-responsive. And that's the latest I have on that.
Anybody have any questions for the manager? Next item on my agenda is motion for a closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11a to consult with the attorney to protect the attorney-client privilege. I will need a motion and a second to go into closed session.
Make a motion, we go to closed session.